Everybody, welcome to the Scarred Thumb Podcast. I do my prep work on Saturday, and I sure hope history-altering events don't happen while I'm doing that, but this Saturday was a little different. But even so, I still have some stuff prepared for you that I want to talk about, but I did get a little distracted. But we won't be dealing with politics or anything. This is going to be a break from this because we're talking about video games. And I'm just going to start with my sort of topic for discussion and then go into the news later. This was, hey, good morning, Baron. Good to see you. This was a presentation I did 2 weeks ago. And this was before Zenless Zone Zero, which I've been enjoying. But one of the biggest things it got hit with, its biggest criticism, was that it was just a punching bag. The combat was just really brain dead, easy, attack, and then you hit a counter. And this was one of the things that I discussed, that with free-to-play games, these gacha games, they want to make it super easy because they want the casual audience. The casual audience makes up a huge amount of revenue for people. Not everybody spends a lot of time playing games. Not everyone has a ton of skill while playing games. And not to mention, playing on the phone is pretty difficult to be really good while you're playing, using sort of phone controls. They have to, you're using this virtual joystick and then buttons that have no tactile feedback, so it's almost impossible to know where your thumb is. I've tried it, and my thumb's so big compared to my screen, I can't even see the buttons I'm trying to press half the time. That's really difficult, but they'll do this. So you'll get playing, and then, after sort of 20 hours into the game, they hit you with a difficulty spike because they also want you to spend money. So, hey, you get playing, you get invested in the story, the characters. Now we're going to make it hard. Now we're going to ramp up the difficulty, give you stuff you can't beat that easily. That way, oh, no, I'm not strong enough. I need to improve my characters. Oh, guess what? All character improvement is gated behind stamina. So, hey, why don't you spend some money to get some battery charges? Hey, why don't you spend some money to pull for this new character that's just insanely stronger than anything else we have in our roster? Go ahead and do that. And that's how they get you. And unfortunately, that's really with ZZZ in a lot of these games. And I think the game has a lot of fun in it, but this is one of the things that really really hurts the game, is the decision to really make these, hey, good morning, Nuke. The decision to make these games just so easy at the start that, a lot of people just got a bad impression of it. Because we're going to Premiere Pro. Hey, how's it going, Nuke X Runner? Good to see you. This is an example of gameplay. This is one of the, I think it's the second chapter's boss. There's mechanics to sort of dodge and special. This is kind of like a run-of-the-mill, it's a cool looking boss. They do such a good job on the animations for this. It has an impairment when you do enough damage to the parts. It has the red flash, which indicates a attack that you can dodge, which I do here. It's a pretty loose, but its attacks are so long that it's you can still get hit by it. But as you can see in the top right, the daze meter's building up. Then you get dazed. And this is kind of why people didn't like it, because once you get daze meter, you do these cool chain attacks, which is nice, but You can see just how long he stays dazed here. I kind of blame Dark Souls, to be honest, for a little of the negative impressions. 'Cause I think people are so used to that sort of like Souls-like combat, where it's like maybe you'd sometimes have a stagger gauge, but it builds up very slowly, and they just stay stunned for only a short while. With this game, they definitely don't. They stay stunned for quite a while, and you get it multiple times. And then it goes like another phase, which he gets done, builds up, and then you stun him once again. It takes a little bit longer, but then you go in another chain attack, beat on him. I just can't tell. I'm not sure if ZZZ knows what it quite wants to be. It's like a hybrid between like a beat 'em up and like a boss fight. Not necessarily a boss fight, but like a normal. Just a normal action game with these large boss fights that they constantly put on. But I think I do like the combat system, to be honest. I think it's pretty cool. I think if they go more in the beat 'em up direction, I think it'll actually be quite a bit of fun. They just really need to focus on their enemy design to make them a bit harder. Because right now especially early game, it's just essentially just attack, counter, attack. He gets dazed, beat him up, and then rinse and repeat. But that's an issue, man. And they really only have themselves to blame because, like I said, it's by design that they make it easy, and then sort of like ramp up the difficulty a little bit later to get you to spend money, which is a shame. It's always a shame to see like good work be counteracted by the bad work of other people. Well, not necessarily bad, just like the bad design of a gacha game. You'd hope they resist. But let's talk about MiHoYo a little bit more, because this was actually really funny. They deleted. I really need a screenshot post, because the original post I'll bookmark on Twitter, but they deleted it. So now I had to scramble to find. This is by this Haunted Bird guy. So he sent this tweet, or this feedback through a support ticket out. It says, here's the response I wrote. I sent it before the new trailer came out, and people brought up how the design sample the character seemed to be made with darker skin tone in mind. So this is the feedback. Feedback on T's Natlan trailer. As it currently stands, the character's skin tone and overall color scheme clashes in terms of color values. It does not look good. The light skin does not appeal because many details of the character outfit appears to be washed and less visible. Hopefully with that darker skin tone on the T's, Natlan character would benefit the design. As a region meant to be inspired by indigenous/African cultures, it's also quite disrespectful to create an entire cast of light-skinned characters. And then in response, they responded to this guy as a support ticket with this. Thank you, dear traveler. Thank you for your feedback. Please be kindly reminded that Genshin Impact is a work of fiction. It is not related to actual people, events, or groups or organizations. We do really hope for your understanding. Kind regards, Genshin Impact CS team. So they essentially just told him, hey, guess what, guy? Yeah, this is a video game, not real life. Don't take it so seriously. But some people are in the Genshin Impact MiHoYo community, as they have a change.org petition. Stop cultural appropriation and whitewashing in MiHoYo games. Oh my god. MiHoYo is a lead. The problem, cultural appropriation and whitewashing perpetuates harmful stereotypes and diminishing the rich cultural heritage of indigenous communities. These practices are not only misrepresent, but also contribute to marginalization and disrespect. We urge MiHoYo to engage with indigenous cultural consultants, revise existing content to ensure accurate representation, commit to creating diverse and inclusive characters. So they're mad that I guess one of their new things coming out is supposed to be hey, how's it going, Jack? It's supposed to be a sort of more of like an African, maybe like I don't know if it's a desert area. I have to look it up, but you can tell these characters maybe a little bit more in that region. They're sort of inspired by that region, but now they're complaining, oh my god, they're not dark skinned enough. How do you do this? How do you make this such a thing? You do make any sort of tribal characters without dark skin. This is terrible. I mean, he's like, and then they've actually said, like, we just don't think dark skinned characters are going to sell well in China. It's for some reason China doesn't like them as much. It's weird that they choose to just borrow stuff, as inspiration, but don't throw in everything like dark skin and all that stuff. It's weird. It's almost like it's a work of fiction, and you're allowed to sort of take inspiration without like wholesale. Well, I've got another story about separating fiction from real life, but this was hilarious. Dear Traveler, guess what? It's a video game, not real life. So we don't need to take all this real life crap into the video game. It's called artistic interpretation. It was funny. It's funny to see. This is another story. AI has been a big thing. People have been hating on it. This person's complaining. Really unfortunate for international My Dear Friend Noko Tam. It's a pretty funny anime. It's more like a gag anime. I've enjoyed watching the first 2 episodes. So it gets my recommendation if you're into that sort of thing. Appears official English and French, which accept ADN, which made their own subs, and German subtitles might have been translated by AI. The translation comes from her licensor Renowned and are not Crunchyroll's works. While blaming the service is justified, they could have had the option to create their own translation. We believe Remo, it's not Renowned, it's Remo, should be held accountable. It's very mad. Don't let this slide. And of course, most people are like, who gives a shit? Go ahead and do AI. And this is just a kind of a joke account, but this kind of shows you what happens. This is why people are okay with AI being replaced. Mon is a currency I invented. You can only use it at this store. And then, of course, this is the Nintendo English translation. Mon is a currency I invented to destabilize the market and fight the establishment. So this is what English translators do most of the time, or this is happening like way too much. And this is Niche Gamer, just by Primal, had a bunch of examples. I'm not going to go over all of them, but this is 8+ years. This is like English localization, where it says, "Is curry made by me, a Japanese and non-Indian, authentic? I can't even call this curry. Is this cultural appropriation where they just insert ridiculous stuff?" Oh, this was another example.
Cooler than the rest of those stuck-up chicks.
So what exactly are you doing here at the arcade? I thought all of the boys were supposed to be stuck in the school's prison.
I was asked to run a couple errands, not that it's any of your business.
Whoa, pump the brakes, Arthur Fonzarelli. Have you got a stick up your ass? Or are you one of those dumbass Gamergate creep shows?
Gamergate, yeah. Gamergate. Well, they just shove in crap like Gamergate. And apparently the Funimation writer who did this later said the following: "If you think grape threats against women in game are acceptable, I'm glad my script pissed you off." Ha ha ha. It was just one line, you nerds. Hey, I just throw it in, just one line. And this is why people are so glad AI is replacing guys like this by Tyson Reinhardt, because you just stick in random shots at Gamergate, basically just messing with other people's hard work and making their work worse to satisfy your own ego. And this happens super often. And there's like a million examples. Oh, the Toho one was so bad.
Hey,
I hate English dubs.
Want some snacks?
Duh, thank you.
Wait, why are you covered up?
Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves, so I changed clothes.
Give it a week, they'll be begging you to change.
Yeah. So, the patriarchy. It's just they insert random, stupid jokes that appeal to them, rather than just translating the thing directly, which is what fans of the show actually want. And there's also like they have to we need to westernize it so Japanese jokes won't fall flat. Like where in the HE double toothpicks did that? Why put crap like this? Just like random crappy jokes for people's own entertainment. It's just a great ball of fire. This is hitting me right in the feels. Ugh, it's awful. Awful. It's like they're bored at their work. So hey, let's just ruin people's. Let's just ruin this game with random jokes, inside jokes for ourselves. Like this, they had like a whole dialogue in Japan about this is Fire Emblem, where they have a whole dialogue, and then they decided to make it completely blank. Like they're like two ninjas. They don't talk so much, so they're just staying silent the whole time. But again, it's like a joke. They just insert a joke and remove the dialogue from the original work. Why? Like, how is this good? This is exactly why people are now super okay with my dear friend Nokita replacing the writers with AI. I mean, this is in a way like I don't like AI due to the fact that like it's okay at some stuff, like it's passable, but it's never good. That's always the problem with AI. Even like the AI artwork, like it looks like AI. It's neat. It can be fun, especially in the absence of like nothing. But there's nothing that really pops about it. And I'm sure that it's going to be the same example with this, where it's just passable translation that conveys the meaning of it. You can make the argument that it's not going to be quite, especially like in more complicated contexts, it'll be quite as good. But when the option is guys just inserting jokes where actual dialogue was, or like putting in stuff like sus or random stuff, about like social justice warriors, or inserting pronouns into it is a bi-gender adept. Inserting into the original translation. When people do stuff like this, not taking their job seriously, or like sort of social justice, trying to like use their work to show, like Ben Bateman bragging about coming across super blatant racism secession in work is interesting because it's half oh my god and half oh thank god I can fix this. When you have people like Ben Bateman and the other guys putting in their own artistic spin on it and making it worse, then AI looks good in comparison. And maybe that's in the end it's a good thing when the worst people are replaced by AI, and potentially good translators, people that do good work, will rise to the top. But that's what I could hope for. Hopefully it's not just like blanket people being replaced by AI. I still think you need a human touch on some of this stuff in context. But no. There's also fans translations usually end up pretty good too, which is an interesting part of that as well. And this is another kind of related to translators, where Nintendo doesn't even credit them, and they actually put in they put translators into NDAs where they can't even credit themselves, which it might be a good idea, to be honest, considering you have stuff like this where like he's bragging about how good his translations are. Yeah, I put in that stuff about social justice in the English translation. Cool. And of course, you also saw, we talked about it a few weeks back, like Nintendo's removing any sort of mention of like mental illness or being crazy or batty or anything like that. They replace it with, oh, that's wild, or that sort of stuff. So basically, they're complaining that these translators are not getting credited. How dare they? Well, it's external translators, I should say. So the people that they outsource this to, Nintendo not giving them credit. So translators just keep losing here. They have like the localization, claim collaboration on another source, but who spent over a year in multiple locations at Localsoft, but haven't been credited. It's Nintendo's policies to not list the name of translators from external agencies in their game's credits, which also prevents us from listing those titles on our CVs, which does kind of suck. Like if you've worked on stuff like, A 1,000-Year Door, would be kind of nice to put that on your resume. But since you're an external source, you can't. So that's kind of crappy. At the same time, I don't know how much. I didn't like some of the examples of their localization did rub me the wrong way. But this is big news. Big news here. Stellar Blade dev Shift Up goes public and raises a whopping $320 million. So this is the people that make Stellar Blade and Nike and Goddess Victory Nike. Is it Nike? Who knows? Nike? I'm just going to pronounce it Nike. It sounds better. Shift Up Corporation, South Korean developer, they just had a big success releasing the PlayStation 5 exclusive Stellar Blade, has gone public, and they raised $320 million in its first day of trade after the initial public offering. That's the largest in the country for a gaming company since 2021, when PUBG maker Craft On raised $3.8 billion, which, PUBG was huge. I think it probably still is. Shift Up Corp sold nearly 7.3 million shares at 61 each. Demand was 226 times the number of shares available. And Tencent is now the second largest shareholder. Oh boy, Tencent, one of my favorite gaming giants here. I'm not a huge fan of Tencent. Some of their games are all right, but it's like I'm always worried about China because they always like to, especially on a game like Nike or Stellar Blade, which is big on, Sony is doing censorship now too, but once you get China involved, you also get censorship as well. They don't like cleavage and a lot of other stuff in it. But, this, some would say this, hey, great news. Stellar Blade makes this cool game. Nike is another really cool game as well. They really like, it's known for its, butt-shaking physics and, hot character design. It's great, right? Really good. It's good to see them doing well, but some people are a little bit, let's see. Wait. Darn it. Give me a sec. Got the wrong thing. Where is this here? Oh, no. Oops. Give me a second. So, I need to look through my bookmarks. Oh, this was actually funny. I'm going to show you this just because. Give me a second. I got to show this to you. Take a break while I look. We can check at this. One of the things I love what you can make in Tears of the Kingdom. The sort of master hand stuff or ultra hand was pretty amazing. Oh no. Those poor moblins. What'd they do to deserve that? I just love when you give people like creativity to make stuff, just all the stuff they can come up with is just amazing. I really do think that, especially in like the age of social media, having, creative ways for people to share stuff online just really benefits a game. So stuff like, Animal Crossing, stuff like the Tears of the Kingdom, the ability to make creative contraptions. Just what you can do with it is just amazing. Whether it's like making Godzilla or making this sort of Gitmo torture device, you never know. When sport players used to make dick monsters, of course, that's usually the first thing that gets made is give players the ability to make stuff, and a penis is the first thing to show up. This is from Park Place. This is about Stellar Blade. So this is the dark side of going public. After going public, Stellar Blade developer ShiftUp seeks employee to publish ESG reports. So I mean, if you're going to go public, you want to get the funding, raise some money, maybe make Stellar Blade 2 or bring it to PC. You make a lot. However, it's also is hiring an employee to publish ESG reports now. You want public investment, you got to go after that ESG money, or at least make it. And this is sort of the insidious part of the ESG funding is you have to sort of take it seriously if you want to raise capital. Now, hopefully, it won't change anything, but I mean, it's almost with Sony, it's almost a little bit too. And maybe they want to get away from Sony. Maybe they want to raise some money so they have more freedom. It definitely seems like they had to tone down design. Yeah, Nintendo Life was banned because too many people drew. Any sort of those things. But so the Game Schwartz IPO is one of that raised a bunch of money, but they also included this. Let's take a look at this. As business support IR manager, we're seeking a competent IR to join ShiftUp is a leading global gaming market. And then this is one of their responsibilities, leading other team members related tasks such as public disclosure of listed companies, committee work, and publication of ESG reports. So does this mean, ShiftUp is going woke? Not necessarily. I think, this is just standard business practice now to write these up in case you want to get funding from some of these bigger companies that might take ESG seriously. Though the more and more you accept money from outside sources, the more and more pressure it is to sort of change to acquire more of this money. And this is always the sort of insidious part of it. And and this is why they always no one's forcing these companies. They want to do it. No one's forcing these people to change their stuff. They voluntarily did it. Well, you could kind of say that's true, or maybe it's just sort of they're slowly being choked out in order to get money to sort of make these games, especially now, considering the prices of these games. Maybe you have to kind of make a deal with the devil here, as it said. May actually, and then of course people just talking about ESG. It's not really all that great. I think a lot of people are finding that these ESG funds are not the best funds to go for. Well, hopefully it will not affect ShiftUp and their mission to make hot girls. And speaking of hot girls, let's take a look at this. It was another thing that came up. First Descendant. I don't know if you guys heard of it. I haven't really looked into it, but it hits 10 million players despite controversy. Oh no! By the way, the controversy is microtransactions and some icons. They always like to. Kotaku is always interesting on games that it doesn't like. It'll probably stroke the crap out of Concord, since that's a big Sony title, and Sony knows how to sort of put the squeeze on these publications and make sure that they get it. They stay in the right with these big companies like Sony. First Descendant, they don't mind. They don't mind throwing in these little shots despite controversy. So this is like a sci-fi third-person looter shooter, Warframe, Destiny, and Division. And then it's launched on July 2nd to mixed reviews from critics and players on Steam. Half dozen hours or so. I came away, this person was unimpressed. Sure, the game's fun at moments, but the stories are forgettable. Story and the characters are forgettable, and the endgame, after finishing up the campaign, is a slog. And I'm sure the grinding is a bit slog, but that's always how these games are. Any sort of looter shooter, oh, you have to grind for gear. Yep, that's unfortunately that comes with the territory, especially when microtransactions are involved. No good, but very bad week. Shortly after the game launched, how similar icons the First Descendants were. These icons are very similar. Let's take a look. I think there was a picture at some point. Oh, so this, and the icons do look pretty similar. Let's be honest. Here, where it's, yeah, they're very similar to some of the stuff. I can see the similarities. In fact, half the time, very similar. Very similar icons, and they said that they would address that later on. But yeah, they're definitely kind of copying the homework a lot on these. Though I don't think icons are my biggest concern as far as what's happening. There were some complaints, but despite of this, I write it as over 170k players, concurrent players on Steam, shooting up in this sci-fi game. But why would this game be getting so much attention? Well, let's see. There might be a reason. Like the I wonder why. Huh. It's a real mystery why this game might be attracting attention. I mean, I think it might be the character design. And honestly, they have like this is from EA FPS. This is just sort of showing off the character design. So it's like you have these characters like contrast this with like Concord or something. These Eastern devs seem to really nail it, and sometimes it can be a little samey in these character designs, but like they make these guys have like giant metal arms, kind of rough looking guys, guy with a giant horns.
Let me tell you how I managed to come back.
Demon guy, and then of course, oh here's Ice Lady with the giant boob window, Power Girl-esque big old rack.
Commencing. Turn.
Oh, there's a science dude. And this character I saw all over the place. This is funny.
Are you ready to be shocked?
Of course, I think she has a different outfit that I kept on seeing here. This is one of the reasons why I think the game is attracting so much attention.
Are you ready to be shocked?
No, it's crazy. Crazy when you make characters like this. It seems to garner attention. I don't know why. I don't know why other companies, especially in the West, don't want to copy this. But yeah, I guess they'll be all right. It's okay for them to do it. It's okay for them to be
when you mix
ugly.
water and okay.
Because, well, they have their own. The reason is they have their own. Or I think many of the times. Hey, how's it going, Deborah? I'm gonna skip to this one because it's semi-related. I think a lot of the reasons why you have things like this, which just lost my place. Of like oh here's a girl, she's kind of cute.
What do you get when you mix?
Like here's cute, fun, kind of sciencey nerd girl. That like again cute. Like oh she's kind of like lighthearted girl. Look at her, she's kind of has a little like a fidget going on here. Yay! And then like there's another like fun little girl here.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, they got the nerdy girl, like the sporty girl, ice girl, all this stuff. And then like they also have guys that look like they're actually kind of tough.
I will pull everything towards me.
In some ways, like a lot of the haircuts look the same. Some of the stuff does look very similar. I think that'd be my only criticism of the enemy design. Like guys with like, again, giant armor and like a cut. Maybe they're slightly different, and they have like, a science guy. Here's a bunch of stuff for you. This like looks like a Metal Gear character out of like Metal Gear Solid. But it's fun. But a lot of times with these characters, a lot of these Western franchises keep relying on their success rather than when you have to make a new game, you have to attract people. You have to kind of like do your best to make stuff that stands out, which I mean, stuff like this does stand out nowadays. This is making a kind of resurgence, hopefully, but this is from Matt Scribe. I don't think this is new, but this is from Dungeons and Dragons. Wizards of the Coast have been writing off their IP for a long time and not making very good products lately. And this is from their making of the original Dungeons and Dragons, 1970 to 1977. And this is one of the excerpts they came in, since they put a lot of this stuff out just as it is, which is good, but they need to add in qualifiers. So this is from this page. This book includes something never before published, the original draft of Dungeons & Dragons that Gygax crafted, and I apologize for this font. It's very hard to read, even for me. With his and Anderson's annotations and corrections, this draft led to the 1974 publishing of the first edition of D&D, which is reprinted here in its entirety. So they printed all of it. Only the first three most important supplements of the first edition, Greyhawk, Blackmoor, and Eldritch Wizardry, appear here, as do numerous articles and expansions written by fans, many of which were incorporated into Advanced Dungeons & Dragons in the years after 1977. Well, of course, guys, we can't just publish this and say, awesome, look at this great history we have. We love we're so thankful for Gary Gygax and all these other people that contributed, that really made D&D, made this multi-million, maybe billion-dollar IPs for us, that we now we're standing on these giant shoulders. Do you think they'll do that, or do they think they'll do with something else? Let's see. Give me a second. I'm going to take a drink. With a few noted exceptions, every page reproduced in this book is from a first printing with no attempt to correct the original pages. Street addresses and phone numbers are redacted. The rules of D&D are important and incredibly inferential, but now they're also confusing and even contradictory. That's how we left them. We don't encourage you to try and play 1974 D&D from these pages. If you want to try, Wizards of the Coast has edited and republished the original D&D white box in both physical and digital formats. These reprints incorporate erratas from later printings of the game. The book presented at D&D as it was first imagined, warts and all. And some of these warts we're talking about. What sort of warts are these? One example includes creatures from other unnatural properties, such as J.J.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth without permission, and later reprinting Balrogs, hobbits, and ents were renamed. I cannot read that. Halflings and treants, I think Baelors. And so basically, we copied a few stuff. Wow, I can't believe it's actually pretty funny. Can't believe they took inspiration from Tolkien. Crazy. But here's where we get into some language. In the first iteration of D&D presented a moral quandary. Oh no. The documents reproduced in this book include many pages and charts and tables alongside lists of monsters, spell, and magic items. But the game's contents also include a virtual catalog of insensitive and derogatory language. Words that are casually hateful to anyone with physical or mental disabilities, or who happen to be old, fat, not conventionally attractive, indigenous, black, or a woman. Oh my God. Some people have charitably ascribed the language to the authors working from bad assumptions. In the 1970s, historical war games in America were predominantly white, middle-class men. It isn't surprising that they would dub a class of soldiers the fighting man. But when the pages of Greyhawk The description of the Queen Chaotic Dragon includes a dig at women's lib. Oh my god, the misogyny is revealed as conscious. How dare you make fun of women's lib, you misogynist? There's nothing to make fun of there. It's unfortunate the fact that women seldom appear in the original D&D, and when they do, they're usually portrayed disrespectfully. Oh. Slavery appears in the original D&D not as a human tragedy that devastated generations over the centuries, but as a simple commercial transaction. That's crazy. I can't believe a medieval setting would... This sort of medieval setting would describe slavery as a transaction. I mean, that's totally not what it was back in, sort of the Dark Ages. Yeah, they should have really portrayed it as a human tragedy. How dare they not do such a thing? But I couldn't imagine a world with a bunch of different races where some races would be treated like that. It's crazy. The cultural appropriation of original D&D Rangers from the bewildering, like naming every 6-letter cave I don't know what this llama, to the staggering gods and demigods and heroes not reprinted in this book includes game statistics for sacred figures revered by more than 1 billion people around the world. I guess were players expected to fight Vishnu, one of the personal deities of Hinduism, kill him and loot his Phase 3 sword of demon slaying? Yeah. That's this is so weird. Such a weird thing to get mad at. Like, this was stuff every guy that played, every like teenage kid that played Warhammer, or not Warhammer, but D&D. Oh man, what if I made like stats for like Jesus, or what would Jesus be? Like, what level cleric would he be? A level 20 cleric with powers of resurrection. They did this all the time. And this is, how offensive. How dare you make rules for Vishnu, a sort of exotic god that, like, who in America practice Hinduism? Oh no, how dare they? How dare they take, real life stuff and turn it into a game? No one's ever done that before. Despite these shortcomings, yep, the shortcomings that, created this multi-million-dollar IP that you're running into the ground, D&D has always been a game about people choosing someone unlike themselves, collaborating with strangers, and becoming friends. It has slowly become more inclusive, and the player base has become more diverse. And somehow it keeps getting crappier. That's weird. The pool of creators who make this game expand to include people with a broader range of identities and a bunch of women, essentially. And by expanding, they mean people we approve of. It's not more diverse. Diversity is always less diverse. It's always like, we're going to throw our political ideologies in here, and if you don't agree with them, then we're just not going to publish you. We're going to try and get you fired. I did cover it previously. There was a artist called Seb McKinnon where a bunch of people were like celebrating the fact that his artwork got removed from Magic the Gathering Online. Of course, it just ended up being they wanted to censor it for China because China doesn't like skulls, and he's more of like a kind of like gothic horror type of artist. He's still working, but you kind of see the exact type of people that want this diverse level of identities and creators working on it. What they mean is people that agree with them. Like, if you supported the Trekker protest, we don't want you making content. But, hey, if you're a black woman, go for it. You can make stuff like, green elves. You can make stuff like this. Well, let me see. Let me find it for a second. It should only take me a second to scroll down here. Let me show you this. Here's this great work that they're making. Did I pass it? No. Oh no, here it is. Here it is. Yes. This is the diverse artwork here. This is the diversity you get. Look how great this is. Just multicolored elves. Purple, brown, green Chinese elf. Oh, this is so cool. Gauge dwarves. Yeah. This This is what we need. We don't need stats for Vishnu. We need this matching beard tattoos. Oh, and don't forget the guy in a wheelchair, and of course the Mexican druid / dwarves, which everyone owns a hawk. We need half orcs. Can't be brutal. We need Mexican guy, Mexican Zorro here, looking at some cactus. He's about to eat a cactus. Oh, that's really everyone has a poncho. This is the great stuff that they're making now, unlike Gary Gygax and those white men who built this entire franchise. That's terrible. But honestly, the real reason I wanted to even cover this is because I found one of the responses I wanted to cover I thought was really good. This is from Mad Scribe Game MLC posted this. This is Robert is it Kuntz? Is that how I pronounce that? Response to Wizard of the Coast. After they used the 50th anniversary of D&D to call its creators racist and misogynist. I'm going to leave it here. I found this response actually really awesome. Really well said. So I will read it in its entirety here. Just make sure that looks good. I don't know if all of this is in frame, but I'll read it for you guys. Anyway, I have to take a break from posting the whole attack on OEL. And I'm not like super familiar with the D&D, especially the old stuff, so I'm not sure what OLTSR has really tipped my trigger. 50-year celebration that it is of the original D&D authors and its supplements. Gary, Dave, Jim Ward, Brian Bloom are gone, and that leaves me alone as the last man standing, the last author. It's really a burden watching this slanderous episode unfold, and it's point out like this is supposed to be celebrating the history, and then so they turn around and basically take shots at them, and this was done without one bat of an eyelash. A Wizard of the Coast fait accompli done in such an assertive manner as if they wield the holy articles of morality which they enacted with their reprehensible judge, jury, and executioner Demeter. They are probably wincing and wondering, us, the saints of truth? More like snakes. Anyone who would wait until the majority of authors who created the game were gone to stick it to them in a manner is a vile snake. And just to complete the deed and do it on the 50th shows their admirers who's in charge, show them who's in control of the IP. They fear those times they had no hand in creating, and they especially fear Gary Gygax. His name sends shivers up and down their crooked spines. And if it was enough to have hounded him in life, let's do a Houdini and trample on his grave. Disgusting slime. But it's not just Gary or Dave or us others. It's also about wanting to wipe out the success and claim it as their own, which this is super true. And in order to do that, the fandom must be attacked as well as that history. All of it must be purged and never again allowed to exist. These people are the epitome of evil robber barons, parading as the good guys, sleight of hand bullshit from gold-hobbled prestidigitors who don't know fantasy or how to summon it. I really like the creative D&D style writing here. What they know how to do is push down on their little man syndromes by stepping on those whose shoes they can never walk in, and preaching righteous indignation while counting their bottom lines, taking their vacations, dreaming about their next cafe latte, posers one and all. We fought these established pews back in the mid-'70s as they gathered around a fledgling TSR to bring it down. Now it's the second round. Robilar may be a little aged, but he's not dead yet. You have made a permanent enemy, many of you stupid coastal wizards. Let us see how many real magic cards you hold besides illusionary ones. For this battle, neither sought nor wanted by me or others, is just beginning. You'll get sick of hearing my name soon enough. It's spelled, I assume it's like Kuntz. It's spelled Kuntz. I think that's how it is. I don't really know these guys by a name basis. Or post this as I'll be taking a few days off. Rest in peace, brothers. I like all the fanciful language he throws in just to flex his D&D nerd cred. But this is, I really enjoyed it. But this, I was just reading. This, I think, really kind of sums up a lot of the anger. And this is happening, I think, in a lot of different IPs right now, where the people that made them successful are now gone. If you look even like stuff like Blizzard and their franchises, and now they've kind of been taken over by people that don't really understand and can't replicate, what made them successful. And then they just keep inserting their politics into it to make it worse. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's at the. I get the context for certain materials, but this is just silly. He's got to throw in. He's got to throw in like stuff like prestidigitation and all that stuff. It's a little like sleight of hands. If you haven't played D&D, you can kind of see these sort of callbacks to it. But TSR, I'm not sure what TSR is, but I think it's the original company that they made. I wish I knew a little more about the history of D&D, but this is, I kind of bring it up just to show the sort of parallels you see in unfortunately, with a lot of these places being kind of taken over, a lot of these companies that started out as really like these sort of bastions of sort of nerd culture, very male spaces. Like they go public, they get bigger and bigger, and then sort of like they become more and more corporatized, and then you have HR moves in, a lot of hiring practices, and of course a lot of these creative types are super liberal, and they have to sort of insert their politics, and that's why you get stuff like this crap like this, which is note the rules for fantastic medieval war games campaigns that make up the original D&D were created and sold to war game community that were almost exclusively white middle-class men. So you have stuff, they're wrong. Depictions were wrong then and were wrong today. And they have to like rewrite history, make light of slavery. Oh no. In your sort of war game, you have to like have this disclaimer, like, oh, you want to have slaves. There's slaves in this world, but it's really important to note that slavery is wrong. Slavery is wrong, and it's never okay, even in this fantasy. It's a fantasy world. Anyone with, half a brain cell knows that in these fantasy worlds, or even back in the day, like if you go into history a few hundred years back, you've got slavery in Africa, you have slavery in China, you have slavery in America, slavery in Europe. All the slavery was all around. It was just honestly a product of the time. I think really the only thing that brought people like to think that society evolved, but I think it really was the kind of industrial revolution that slowly, and capitalism, that slowly removed slavery from the world. It's really done because you don't need it anymore. There's other economic avenues to do it. And I guess you even make the argument that some people are kind of enslaved in a way, as they have to go to their cubicles every day in order to afford their house and their food and all these other things. But I mean, the upside is that they opted into it. So, but this idea that like that people can't separate these things, that there might not be, they might want, a sort of rule or a sort of world where they have these things as sort of like vile things are part of it, where like there's sort of racism is a regular part of the world. This sort of like tougher, darker world where slavery is a thing, where racism is a thing, where war, these atrocities are a thing. This is where, combat, open combat, and sort of this wild scenarios where people are being, killed in the streets, where robbers are waiting outside the gates, to attack people. This is what people want out of a war game, of something like D&D. You can't get rid of them. And then, it's being treated. Anyway, I'm just ranting at this point. But this is what they're doing to this. It just really infuriates me that to see them turn around and attack the people that really made this world and this and establish these rules that they're making money off of, tons of money off of, and it's stabbing them in the back. It's absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, moving on. Let's move on. I've talked too much about this. This was. I need to find my place because no, one last story. We'll skip. There was like something on Assassin's Creed where this guy was kind of accused of editing a Wikipedia, and this guy that made this this book about Yasuke, the sort of legendary African samurai, that he might, he might not have been super accurate about some of this stuff. That there might be a little bit of stuff here that isn't exactly true. Of course, Assassin's Creed is really kind of playing up his role that there's not quite as much historical documentation about him, that like whether or not he was a samurai or not. So they're playing it up, and some people aren't happy about it. Kind of stretching history, which I can 100% believe, in order to kind of fit this narrative of this black samurai, legendary black samurai. Conveniently, kind of insert him in. Story actually is not important, apparently, which, I mean, I'm fine with the not being important for Assassin's Creed. But the fact that it's kind of it's done to serve a purpose that I think isn't necessarily making a better game, making the game more fun. It's trying to shoehorn a black. I think they really wanted a black guy in this game because it makes him look good. But guys, if you want to Switch and you like shmups, it's time to pick up Mushihime-sama. Apparently, these for the Switch is getting delisted in August. Publisher Livewire and Cave announced that Mushihime's Switch port will be delisted next month, making the game unavailable on the platform. It's going to be delisted in August 10th due to license between Livewire and Cave Interactive, the developer of the game. So I guess that's expiring. Really fun. It's a really fun shooter. It's sad to say that it's getting delisted. Hopefully, something else happens. I really want. There's a sequel that was only on, I think, this 360 called. I thought it was like Futanari Black or Futari Black or something like that. I'm hoping that gets a port because I'd like to play it, but right now you can't. Futari. I guess you can get it on MAME if you want to download it. But for these games I'd really enjoy, I like to get, legit copies. But I guess, if you can get it that way, you can play it on that. I was hoping it gets sent out, but yeah. Mushihime-sama, like I said, if you like shmups, you own a Switch, pick it up while you can. It's a great game. I hope you'll enjoy it. So anyway, that's it for the podcast. We've been running an hour. It's time for me to go. I'm hopefully next week when I'm prepping my stuff again. No presidential candidate gets shot at in an assassination attempt. That kind of ruined my show prep. As I'm like thinking, how should I make the? Oh, what the president's been shot at? That kind of distracted me for the rest of the day. As I fell into this sort of like Twitter hole, like, oh man, let me find the details, and like new details emerge. It's pretty easy to get caught up in it, especially when it's something that's, again, history altering event. And of course the pictures, all of it's crazy, absolutely crazy. But I'll be linking to, I always forget to set up the redirect. They'll be setting up that redirect now. We'll be going to Rule 0. We'll be talking about, I believe it's the narcissistic power fantasy. Let's see, what is it? Where? Oh, here we go. Narcissistic power fantasy. We'll be talking over there. That's be in an hour or so. But thank you guys all for supporting the channel. We got a bunch of likes too. Really appreciate it. Be sure to like, subscribe, support how you can, and enjoy the rest of your day. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week on the Scar Thumb Podcast.